Power is not born on the battlefield. Power is born inside the mind. A man who controls armies is dangerous, but a man who controls thoughts becomes untouchable. Listen carefully, because tonight, Machiavelli himself will teach you something kings learn too late. The mind is the easiest kingdom to conquer if the owner is asleep. I once met a prince who feared everyone around him. His ministers lied politely. His soldiers obeyed with hidden hatred. His friends smiled while waiting for his downfall. Every night he asked the same question: why do I feel weak when I own everything? So I told him, you are weak because your enemies do not attack your body. They attack your mind. He laughed at first. Most fools do. Then I asked him one simple question. When was the last time you sat alone in silence without needing distraction? He could not answer. That was the moment I understood his chains were already complete. You see, the modern slave does not wear iron chains. He wears desires, fear, attention, validation, addiction, and the cruelest part, he calls it freedom, manipulation. Rule 1, control fear before fear. Controls, you fears the oldest weapon ever created. A sword can kill the body once. Fear kills the mind every day. Kings use it, religions use it, governments use it, even lovers use it. Why? Because a frightened mind obeys faster than a rational one. I told the prince, if I whisper that betrayal is near, your mind will create enemies everywhere. And exactly as expected, he began doubting everyone. His guards looked suspicious. His servants looked dangerous. Even silence felt threatening. That is the nature of fear. It multiplies in darkness. Remember this carefully. A man in panic will surrender freedom just to feel safe. That is why powerful men remain calm during chaos. Because whoever controls emotions controls decisions. Rule 2. Repetition creates belief. Truth is weak compared to repetition. If 10 men call you worthless every day, eventually your own mind begins agreeing with them. The human brain is lazy. It accepts familiar lies faster than uncomfortable truths. This is how manipulation works. Repeat fear, repeat doubt, repeat desire. Soon the victim starts thinking those thoughts are his own. I once watched merchants destroy a stronger competitor using only whispers. For months they repeated, he is unstable, he cannot be trusted, he is desperate. At first, nobody believed them, but slowly, people avoided the man, not because the lie was true, but because the lie became familiar. Understand this lesson deeply. The mind absorbs what it hears repeatedly. Protect your ears carefully, because poison does not always enter through the mouth. Sometimes it enters through words. Rule 3. Desire is the perfect chain. Every man believes he is free until desire enters his heart. One man becomes a slave to money. Another becomes a slave to beauty. Another becomes a slave to praise. Different chains, same prison. I told the prince, find what a man desperately wants, and you will discover how to control him. The greedy man can be bought. The lonely man can be seduced. The insecure man can be manipulated with compliments. Most people do not think logically. They move toward pleasure like starving animals. That is why temptations exist everywhere. Attention, luxury, lust, status. Because distracted people are easier to rule. Remember, the man who cannot control desire becomes predictable, and predictable men are easy to destroy. Rule 4. Silence terrifies weak minds. I locked the prince inside a quiet room for one night. No servants, no music, no wine, no entertainment, only silence. By morning, he looked exhausted. Do you know why? Because silence forces a man to meet himself. Most people avoid silence because they fear what waits there. Regret, weakness, truth. That is why crowds love noise. Noise protects them from self-awareness. A powerful mind, however, grows stronger in silence, because silence sharpens observation, and observation reveals manipulation. Rule 5. Validation is psychological slavery. The prince enjoyed praise too much. Every compliment made him smile like a hungry dog receiving scraps. So I warned him, the man who needs applause will always dance for others. Validation is one of the most dangerous addictions. Why? Because once people discover your need for approval, they can control your behavior easily. They praise you when you obey. They ignore you when you resist. And slowly, you become their puppet without noticing. This is why powerful men appear emotionally distant, not because they lack feelings, but because they refuse to become dependent on public opinion. Never forget this. Attention given by crowds can disappear overnight. If your confidence depends on others, your confidence is already weak. Rule 6. Overthinking destroys action. Weak men think endlessly. Powerful men decide. The prince once spent 3 days worrying about a small insult from another ruler. What if I react badly? What if people judge me? What if I fail? I finally interrupted him. Your enemy defeated you already. He looked shocked. But nothing happened yet, he said. I smiled coldly. Yes, but your own thoughts have already stolen your peace. Understand this carefully. Overthinking is self-inflicted torture. The mind creates disasters that reality never intended. And while fearful men hesitate, decisive men take power. Months passed. The prince changed completely. He became calmer, harder to read, more dangerous. He no longer reacted emotionally. He stopped seeking approval. He learned to observe before speaking. One night, he finally looked at me proudly and said, I understand people now. No one can manipulate me anymore. I almost laughed. Poor prince. He still had one final lesson left. So I asked him softly, then why do you trust me so completely? Silence. His face slowly changed, and for the first time, fear returned to his eyes. You see, while teaching him about manipulation, I had been shaping his mind myself. I isolated him, controlled his focus, repeated ideas daily, made him doubt others, made him admire me, exactly as planned. That is when he finally understood the cruelest truth about psychology. The best manipulation feels like guidance. A truly skilled manipulator never forces control. He makes you believe the choice was yours. So listen carefully now, because this final lesson matters more than all others. The world is not ruled by the strongest men. It is ruled by men who understand minds. Every day people compete for your attention, emotions, fear, and desire. Merchants want your greed. Politicians want your anger. Crowds want your conformity. Enemies want your reactions. And if you do not control your own mind, someone else gladly will. So learn to sit in silence. Learn to observe emotions without obeying them. Learn to question repeated ideas. Learn to control desire before desire controls you. Most importantly, never allow temporary emotions to make permanent decisions, because the strongest fortress in this world is a disciplined mind, and the most dangerous man alive is the man who cannot be psychologically controlled.